To this discussion now, the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities has called on teenage boys and girls, parents, educators and communities to intensify efforts to prevent adolescent pregnancies. The department says teen pregnancies continue to undermine the health, the education and prospects of young people in South Africa. Statistics show that the number of teenagers falling pregnant is also increasing. For more on this now, we bring in our guests that join us this hour on the program. Deputy Chairperson of CONTRALESA's Women's Wing, Mmakgoshi Dikgale. We are also joined by the Executive Director of NAPTOSA, that's Basil Manuel. And we are also hoping to be joined by the COSAS President, Kamogelo Nkosi, who's still trying to log in at least onto the conversation, and then we'll just move from there. But in the meantime, a very warm welcome to my guests. Thank you so much for being part of this all-important discussion. Perhaps we can start here, with Mmakgoshi. Mmakgoshi, let's hear from you. Do you think enough is being done to prevent adolescent pregnancies?
Let me start by greeting you and the viewers or the listeners. And allow me to say, really, we are feeling the pain because we don't think enough is being done. If you are saying enough is being done, you'll see the change. You'll also see the results. But now what we are seeing is our young girls getting pregnant and they are 10 years of age, and the parents looks like they're not even involved. So we cannot say we have reached where we want to go.
Indeed, and many voices have also been added to this. Basil, perhaps just to bring you in now, let's talk about the social ills that we are faced with, particularly at this point in time. Yesterday, we had the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal come and talk about some of the efforts that they've put in to ensure that they tackle the root causes of where all of this might perhaps be coming from. Let's hear from you and let's talk about those social ills, and are we really doing enough to address them?
I would say we are trying. We are trying, especially as on the side of our traditional leaders. I am leading CONTRALESA, as you have said when you introduced me. So we are trying very hard. And as to women in the Royal Crawl, what we try to do is that we encourage our children, firstly, to go and attend the initiation schools, because that is where you will get the grandparents like us and the ones who are older than us, and our youth who manage to listen to this education at the initiation school and try to focus on their future. So we try to encourage them to at least go in our province or in my area. What we do is that we make sure that June, December, that is the time during the school, when the schools are closed. That is the time whereby the girls can go and learn at this initiation school. That's what we're trying to do. Even now in December, before Christmas, there were traditional leaders who were trying to teach these learners, and we encourage them to go in large numbers. So there will be the other one in June. And the other thing that we're doing, we are not working alone. We work with the traditional leaders, the religious leaders, because most of us, we managed to face this life and the challenges because we made sure that we grow in Sunday school areas where we will learn about the fear of God and respecting our children, the fear of respecting our parents. If we respect them, whatever they teach us, and we take it and we practice, then we manage to grow. That's what we are trying to do at the moment. And the other thing, we are encouraging them not to copy this lifestyle that is happening now. You see, even the young ones, during the night when we pass the liquor store areas, you see the young ones being there, playing there. You understand, you just tell yourself that what is going to happen at this area is going to be chaos. These areas are authors of frustration to our children, so encourage them not to play to such type of areas.
And I want us to now bring in Basil, because I also think just Mmakgoshi chipped in there, Basil, when I posed the question to you, particularly when we look at, what work we're doing basically at ground level. When we look at the role of teachers' unions, many parents have thus been criticized for outsourcing their parenting to teachers. Do we have a system that is supportive of teachers at this particular point in time, especially when we look at how teachers, first of all, need to deal with their work first before they are able to be parents to these children?
Thanks for the opportunity. First, let's make it very clear. This is a problem at various levels. There's children impregnating children. There's adults impregnating children. And that is where our concerns lie. Insofar as our membership is concerned and the broader community, we believe much more should be done. Simply because if it was working at this moment, we wouldn't have these high numbers. So when it comes to children, impregnating children, I look to the teachers and the parents. And we should be there educating, because the boy walks away and the girl's life chances change. Some of them have a better support structure, they could get back to school, but many hundreds can't, and their entire life changes. And the life of that baby is also in peril, because this mother can't afford to provide for the child adequately. As teacher unions and as NAPTOSA in particular, we run programs called SRGBV, school-related gender-based violence, because some of this is related to gender-based violence. But it's also about educating about your life chances. And this is what we preach. But on the other hand, we talk to our members to say, this is not working. You cannot take advantage of the power relationship you are in with the child. And beyond that, we have to get more of our governing bodies on board so that we deal with the parents, where things happen in homes with not only parents, but uncles and aunts and neighbors, where we need far, far more intervention than we currently have.
And here's the thing, Basil, so much has been said around, addressing the scourge. I think I'll backtrack to as far back as 2021, where there was also that policy which said that, teachers would now be compelled to report pregnancies of children under the age of 16. I remember your reaction as NAPTOSA to that was more along the lines of, this will at least assist in addressing the problem that we're facing at this moment. But are all of those efforts enough, really?
Well, I think what is being shown at the moment is that they are not really an end in itself, because we report, and many schools report this, but we have many reluctant teachers as well, because you are called to court, you are called to hearings, and it takes months and months of time, even away from school. So our systems have to be improved. But we can't stop reporting, because it is in that reporting that we are bringing some miscreants to book. It is in that reporting that we are alerting parents that they must act. But many times we are also fighting the parent, who, because of situations of poverty and a whole lot of other things, are bribed into accepting a situation that they should not accept. So, no, the measures are not enough. But no, we can't stop them either.
And I also want us to hear about some of those measures that are also implemented at government level. I know our colleagues earlier spoke to Sindisiwe Chikunga, the Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, who's also added her voice to this discussion. Let's roll that clip.
Indeed, poverty does play an important role, and many other issues, they do play an important role. But of course, it is also a problem that is experienced by other countries that you may think they economically are well off, and families that are economically well off, they still face this. But the issue for me that is even more critical is when you have an underage child falling pregnant, a 10-year-old child falling pregnant. If you look at the statistics last year, for instance, we had something like 2,308 kids who gave birth to children from below age of 14 and 10 years old. And for me, that is crime. That is statutory rape. And I think it's a matter that requires our attention as not only as government, but government, of course, leading, but of course, all others to say, how best do we deal with these issues? You see in the social media, a mother giving children's alcohol. I'm talking about not just 7-year-old, 5-year-old, 3-year-old being given by an old woman alcohol and claiming that this is my children. This person doesn't know as to when this 10-year-old will fall pregnant and who will abuse her when she is drunk and not knowing where she is. That is the problem that we are facing. And I think these are the issues where we have got to strengthen law and ensure that these people get arrested. And I think that is where it's going to happen, particularly with this one that is in the social media, because we've got to set examples for anyone who would think that they have a right to give alcohol to children and claim that they are theirs.
Minister, in the presidency, therefore, women, youth and people with disabilities, Sindisiwe Chikunga, adding her voice to this conversation that we're having a bit earlier on the SABC News platform. And also just to continue now with you, Mmakgoshi, you heard there the minister talk about some of the measures that have been put in place to at least try and address the scourge. But also, we're hearing words such as poverty come into the mix. And this also circles back to some of the societal ills that we talked about a bit earlier on when we started this conversation. Insofar as CONTRALESA engaging with boots on the ground, and I'm talking about the traditional authorities and ensuring that, we sensitize them, particularly when they deal with such issues. And I make this point because I want to find out what is it that you as CONTRALESA are doing to ensure that in rural areas we have such matters addressed with the urgency that they deserve.
Thank you very much. What I can say is that as traditional leaders, at least we have an opportunity because we are multifaceted. We don't look at one direction. That is why sometimes you'll find us inviting social workers in our royal crawls so that they can talk to the parents, because parental involvement in this case is very, very important. So you'll find that we invite them and then they will come and talk to the parents. Sometimes they'll talk to the teenagers, giving them handouts of whereby they'll be encouraging them as to how can they then look out of their characters, they are growing, their future, and what is it that they must do, what is it that they mustn't do. The other thing that we do, we invite even the NPOs, these people who are dealing with the NPOs, so that they visit the centers of these children and encourage them to take care of themselves, to be afraid, to have fear when it comes to things that they are not supposed to do. And again, sometimes you'll find that a parent would want to maybe try to talk to the child or the girl child who did not respect the laws of the house, and the child will go out during the night where she's not supposed to go out. And sometimes when the parents talk to these children, the children will then be angry, but they normally take them to the royal houses. They do it in my area, and then we'll then talk to the child, try to talk sense. Actually, we are trying. The other thing maybe that we need to do more is to talk to the religious leaders so that they pray for our villages. Whoever think that his or her belief is very strong, they need to talk to their God, because we are really in trouble. So that at least at the end of the day, we find that there were many issues in our past whereby we were struggling, we couldn't touch areas, we couldn't have results. Like when the minister was citing an example of poverty, we had bit by bit, we went out of it. So even this problem, I believe, one day we will resolve it. Thank you.
But also, Ms. Dikgale, actions will then mean that we also move to make our actions and build them even further past prayer. We need to see action of some sorts. And I know the likes of your organization, CONTRALESA, has also been criticized on some occasions of siding with these traditional authorities, particularly when we look at matters where children are concerned, particularly when we look at the rural areas. Just do you think all the tough talk that we are hearing now, I know the minister said statutory rape should be dealt with as such. Do you think the tough talk that we're really having now and hearing around this issue and addressing this issue is actually translating to the action that it should be?
Yes, my wish is that we should stop blaming other people when we see the problem. If ever you see your traditional leader that is not doing well or acting well, I don't think if you can go to that traditional leader and talk to him or her, try to advise, he can continue doing that. What I will say is that I will talk about the areas where I know we visited many provinces as CONTRALESA, and all the members of CONTRALESA, they are trying their best. Maybe I would try to put this to test and say, whoever saw a member from the Royal House who is a member of CONTRALESA doing that should raise that alarm, and then we'll be able to talk to those people. What I know is that members of CONTRALESA are trying their level best. Even when we are having our meetings, we will never end our meeting without our president encouraging us to take care of the rural children. We do that. We do talk about the GBV issues. How can we then commit to those if we want to deal with them?
Okay, I want us to also take it to the phone lines now. Mr. Maboko joins us in Pretoria. Good morning to you, Mr. Maboko.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm all great. Go ahead. What's your view this morning?
You know what? Every year in, year out, we are talking about teenage pregnancy. And it seems now we're making it's like I don't know if it's a joke or whatever. We are giving effort, we are giving advices. Some ministers, whoever, they come and give, this is what is going to happen, but we don't get the feedback regarding that. My request is, whoever is in charge, all the MECs, they have to tell us the feedback regarding the last year. What happened with the last year teenage pregnancy? How many people were arrested? How many were sentenced? Because now we are told plus minus from 90 to 130 increase in the teenage pregnancy. For me, I'm telling you, even next year we are going to say from 150 to 7. But what are we doing? Yeah? We're not doing anything. But what we just like every day, the first, until the next week, we will be talking about the same thing. Yes, the increased teenage pregnancy, but what are we doing as community? What are we doing as police officers? Really, something needs to be seriously done, especially on the rural areas. This is increasing really very bad.
Thank you so much for your call, Mr. Maboko. Mr. Maboko, they're basically just saying that we usually talk tough, but what happens with the actions? We're not seeing actions. Instead, we're seeing this problem grow bigger and bigger in our societies. And Mr. Manuel, just to bring you back into the fold now as we continue with this conversation, so much has been said about what usually happens in the classroom setting. I want you to talk to us about some of the challenges that you face, particularly when it comes to addressing such issues as teenage pregnancies, particularly in the classroom setting.
Thank you. And let me first agree with Mr. Maboko. I think he makes a very valid point about follow-up. But in your classroom setting, if you have a girl pregnant, it becomes a serious matter, even in terms of administration. Teachers are now at the point where they accept that the children must be at school. They are better off being at school. They are better off having the opportunity to finish their education. But there comes a time when this child isn't there. And in theory, it sounds okay, send work home, etc. But of course, children don't live right around the school. of course, teachers are not in ready contact with the children, that it makes technology helps, but not everybody has technology. Not everybody has a friend that can take work home. So inevitably, the child does suffer. And tragically, we still have incidents, even in this district exam, where children were turned away from writing because they were pregnant. And we know that that is against the law. But these are the battles that have to be fought at every school. It is the acceptance that something has happened beyond our control. Now, let's deal with the aftermath of it, ensuring that the child gets the best possible deal so that this very child is able to care for that child that she's carrying. So the burden is there. I've mentioned already the other part of the difficulty of statutory rape, being called into court, etc., to testify that this child has reported something and the amount of time it takes. We need a dedicated workforce who will deal with these matters from the side of police and from social development that can assist so that teachers' time is not lost and everybody else suffers. That makes people think that it's not worthwhile. And that would be a bad, bad thing to, to let it happen.
But then the conversation would also move to policy level, Mr. Manuel, to ask questions such as, do we have a schooling system that is sensitive to all of those realities that these young people face?
Absolutely. Let me say and remind people that we've had a policy on learner pregnancy all along. It's been reinforced by the adoption of the Bella, and it is now part of the Act, the Bella Act. And of course, the Bella Act is the Schools Act as amended. It is there. And now we need to see that we give life to it, because having something in an act, having something in policy is only paper. It's only somebody's writing. But now to give it a life, we've got to ensure that everybody understands it, and everybody is singing from the proverbial same hymn book.
Yeah, and I wish we actually could have the COSAS President join us for this conversation, because at least then we'd also get a greater picture of some of those lived experiences in the classroom as well. But also, to bring you back in, Ms. Dikgale, now, questions are moving around, having a system that is, conducive for everyone, particularly when we look at ensuring that we move together as a collective in addressing the problem that we are facing at this stage.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And unfortunately, our children have the rights, but they don't know that in each and every right there is a responsibility to be taken care of. Maybe what we can do again is to make sure that as parents we hold hands in such a way that we are supporting each other. Way back when I was growing, every parent that I would meet on the road or wherever will become my parent. But nowadays, our children will have this thinking that because they don't have parents in their house, they are the ones who are leading. So sometimes they don't even listen to us. So, but my words of encouragement will be that let us not lose hope. Even if poverty is not coming to an end, let us keep on trying. If ever we try and talk to them, even if we know that some of them won't listen to us, but we keep on talking to them. I think this, at the end of the day, will take us somewhere where our children will view education as something that is very important, and that will end up their poverty one day at the end of the day. I think we must just keep on trying. We mustn't lose hope.
I like that you also mentioned that, because so many conversations have been had on end, particularly around this, Ms. Dikgale, and I think it was one analyst that said something is off. Something is off about how we are dealing and addressing teenage pregnancy, because we are not really addressing the root cause of it, but we are just barely scraping the surface when it comes to that. As Mr. Manuel also said, that we never really get a full report back around what the statistics are, because what we're seeing right now is numbers that are increasing, but we never really measure some of those efforts that go in 365 days a year to rooting this out. Let's take it to Mpumalanga, though, in the meantime. I know we have a caller that joins us from there. Amanda, good morning to you. What's your view?
Good morning. I have a different view. There's a contradiction in all of this. The girl can be, at 12, she can give consent to men to have sex. And in the same time, this lady, Hannah, saying that if it's under 16 years, it's underage. How is our ruling, and that's driven by the ANC government, to give the power for 12 years to give consent to men to have sex? The second thing is, just out the window, people drink their children. And then the next thing, again, they allow children. So that means how can a parent discipline their children? Say, can't in them. They're allowed to do that.
Okay.
Then in the school.
All right. I think we do get a gist of the call. I must thank you so much, Amanda, for calling us this morning, although that line is not really clear. But I think we do get a sense of what you were saying right now around the age of consent, because so much has also been said about that. Let's bring in Olga from Soweto now. Good morning, Olga.
Hey, how are you?
We well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Go ahead.
I don't know whether this would help. I wish the Minister of Education could consider the timetable for grade 8, 9, and 10. Believe in me, these kids ride from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday without no break for all exam times. After exams, from November, they're at home, or mid-November, they're at home until December, until the schools are closed. You can imagine if you're a working parent and you have teenagers at home or one teenager, what is happening during the day? I have no time as yet to take them to the rural areas if I have grandparents. So I think that they should give them a break like they used to. At our time, we used to have a break. You would write today and write after 2 days, and you write. At least it prolongs the exam time. That way they don't have ample time on their hands to go to malls as if they are working. It will help as well for teenage pregnancy, to avoid teenage pregnancy and the drugs on the kids.
All right. Thank you for your call there, Olga. Mr. Manuel, let's get your reaction to Olga's call.
Thank you. I must confess the lines are pretty bad, that I haven't quite picked up the full gist of the story. But just about the first caller, and we mustn't confuse the age at which a child can get contraception to the age of consent. And I agree that there sounds to be some contradictions, but we've got to ensure that education supersedes other things. The law is there to guide. The law isn't there to give consent to everything that happens. And that is why we have the Child Act and the Children's Act. And the Children's Act is about the role of parents in care, the role of teachers, the role of everybody in ensuring that the right of children is protected above all else. And that is what we need to see. I'm so sorry that I couldn't hear the second caller at all.
Olga there was talking about the possibility of tweaking the academic calendar, because she feels that, children are pressured to perform on the academic level, where you have children writing from Monday straight to Thursday during exam season, that they don't get a time for a break, that eventually when they get a break, idle minds get up to mischief.
I think we must be careful about that. I think it is very true that exam periods are pressurized, but it doesn't matter where you are. There will always be exam pressure. And it can't be the excuse that because I was under pressure, I broke loose and I started drinking and all sorts of things. We've got to guide our children better. And in the grand scheme of things, there are so many children who don't do that. There are so many children who are not falling prone to that. So it says that some people are making it work differently. So I don't agree. I'm saying to Olga that in the normal course of events, whether you are at university, whether you are at school, you will always have a pressurized environment during exams, but that can't be the reason for you to break loose and go wild.
And let's hear from you. What's your sense on this? Because the sense is that teenage pregnancy often results in interrupted schooling, the increased dropout rate, but this is something that only affects the girl child. What's your take on that, especially when it comes to bringing in the boys for these conversations as well? Because ultimately, these young children are not having sex by themselves.
Absolutely. And this is one of the biggest problems. Interrupted education very often leads to children having a very low level of education. And then, of course, what follows is that they will have to be in menial jobs. They don't have the life chances of going further. And that is why the law as it stands now in SASA or in Bella tries to protect the child that falls pregnant so that that child can complete their education. And that is what we must do. But we know that if that child doesn't have home support, who's going to look after the baby? That child ultimately drops out of school. So unless we deal with the problem at source, the pregnancy should never start in the first place. To go to something, our other guest said, can you imagine a 10-year-old child giving birth, a 10-year-old child taking care of another child? That says straight away that this child's entire life is altered by having had a child. And that is what we must be preventing.
And that's a really, really sad reality, I must add there. Let's take it to the lines. Nhlanhla in Tembisa, good morning to you.
Morning, how are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, hey, it's very touching, the topic that you're talking about, my brother. And it's very sad, and it's very, very, very sad about this issue. I want to say at first, if the government can help us to give the parents some powers to control the children and at school again. Because if you check this other thing that is happening, it's about
Okay, the line dropped there in Nhlanhla in Tembisa, though, in the meantime. And Mr. Dikgale, this, from what I could gather there, I got a sense that Nhlanhla was steering towards the point of saying, you know, it takes a village to raise children, and parents must now also be empowered to parent the way that they should.
He's very right. He's very right. The problem is that, like I mentioned earlier on, that our children now, they know that they have the rights. But I was touched by Olga, a story that the children are being pressurized during their exams, and when they are finishing their exams, then they just look for something that can maybe they will say they relieve them from the stress, and then they end up joining wrong things. What we do in our areas, we try to keep on morale of not losing our cultural activities, whereby the children after school, they will have to continue to practice traditional dances, Varalokedi, I don't know whether you know them. So I think the parents must try and reintroduce that back to their kids after school. Otherwise, it is so painful. Indeed, we will keep on talking about it. Normally, you will see, I'm not saying I'm criticizing our government, but normally you will see the premiers and yes, the premiers and the MECs during this time of festives, going to the hospital, checking as to how many babies were being brought to this life. And it's only happening during this time. We see it being active now. Maybe I should encourage them to keep on going to the hospitals, even if it's not festive seasons, so that they can continue to talk to these children. Because I believe every day in hospital will have these children giving birth. But if they talk to them and show them the danger of what is happening, they won't go back there again. So you end up seeing our children as if making babies is something that is easy. You find that this child, a 15-year child is having 3 to 4 children, or maybe it's because of the social grant, I don't know. But what we must do is to make sure that we don't be quiet and we don't give us a break when it comes to visiting the hospitals and talking to these children. Thank you.
All right, and I want us to circle it back to the lines. I'm told that Nhlanhla is back with us now. Nhlanhla, I'm going to give you the opportunity to conclude your thoughts.
Okay, I was saying, my brother, the problem that we have is that if the government is it can give back the powers to the parents. If you check in our days, our kids have got powers more than the parents. They are controlling parents. That's why these things of teenage pregnancy is happening. You can see that the girls, they do what we call sleep out programs, and the parents doesn't know where the child is. Once he comes back, you don't know what happened, where she was or where he was. You see these things. So if our parents can control the kids at time to every kid that is not sleeping at home, she must or he must report to the police, my kid didn't sleep at home, all those stuff. And if you check at school these days, the teachers, they don't have any power.
Yeah.
That's why you see, even at a school, the teachers, they are scared to control our kids. You see other things. This is another problem that we are facing at the moment. But if the government can give these teachers and the headmasters, the principals to control our kids, this issue of teenage pregnancy, it won't happen, because the teachers itself, they will be parental guidance of our kids. If you check 90% of our kids, they spend 90% of time with the teachers, 10% at home. So who are staying with the kids most of the time is the teachers. Okay. So if the teachers, they are getting scared of our kids, the kids, they take their time for themselves to do whatever they want to do. So even the teachers, they don't have any control. If, let's say, take care, for example. Okay. If a kid, the teacher tried to control a kid, then that kid goes home and says, the teacher shouted at me. Okay. We as parents,
I get your point there, Nhlanhla.
I fighting to the teachers.
Yeah, I get your point there. Thank you so much for that. And Mr. Manuel, I hope you're making a note of this, because I'm going to ask you to respond to that, because Nhlanhla's call is that teachers must take control back, because it feels like teachers don't have control over the situation at this particular point in time. Let's take it to Durban now, where Gloria joins us from there. Good morning, Gloria.
Yes, good morning, and good morning to your panelists. This is a really important conversation, and I'll be quick. Just a couple of things. I do echo some of what the previous caller Nhlanhla was saying, to say, you know, there is some power, not all power, but some power that's been taken away from teachers and the education system. But I think government is being a little bit disingenuous here. And I'll tell you why I say that. On one side, you have schools. Schools can't kick out kids who fall pregnant and all sorts. So kids have rights, which is fine. And then you have laws in this country which says, you know, anything under 16 is considered statutory rape, but you also have a law that then says a person can go and have an abortion at age 10 without any parental involvement or consent. And so, but most importantly, a system thing like saying, let's bring sexual reproductive health education back into schools and let's put condoms. Let's stop saying, oh, when we put condoms, children are going to have sex. They are having sex right now. And the stance at the moment is, no, if you put things like condoms in schools, you're going to make children have sex. I work in an NGO where we work with young people, and I can tell you that in 2025, and I can bet 2026, we're still going to have young people who tell us that they went to clinics, they tried to get contraceptives, and they got a hostile response, so they didn't get their contraceptives, they didn't get condoms, or whatever else was on offer. So I just think I need government at this point to be a little less disingenuous and just really face the reality of what is happening. We can talk about what we want to happen in the future, but right now, today, kids are having sex.
Yeah.
And we have to respond to that reality as well as the future. And to say bringing condoms, for example, into schools is going to make children have sex, come on. So
right.
I just think a little more responsibility needs to fall on government for this, because other sectors of society are trying, but they need government to also come to the party. Thanks.
All right, Gloria, I must thank you so much for your call, Gloria in Durban there. And Mr. Manuel, the sense from Gloria is that we ought to be honest about how we deal with this matter, and the reality is that children are having sex.
Let me start with Gloria. Absolutely, Gloria is correct. That children are going to do the things that they are going to do. And they are having sex at the moment, and we need to look at all the programs we are putting together. I don't believe only putting condoms in schools is going to solve the problem. No, it won't. But it will be one of things that can assist. So we need to look at a basket of measures so that we start dealing with the problem. But I think the point Gloria was really making is that we must stop sticking our head in the sand and believing that these things are not happening around us. They are. And they are happening right under our noses. And we've got to deal with the realities as they happen. But to come to Nhlanhla, I want to say to Nhlanhla, I don't believe necessarily that controls, etc., are no longer there. I do believe that discipline has changed. And I do believe that there are many schools where there is not enough discipline. And we have a parent problem as well, which Nhlanhla mentioned at the end, where parents want to come running into school to fight for their children when their children are clearly wrong. And that is why our other guests had made the point. It is about us working together. It is about the school. It is about the communities. It is about the NGOs. It is about the traditional leaders. And then it is about the Department of Education. But we can't constantly say government must. Parents must. It's our children. We must deal with our children. Government can't control our children. We must control our own children. And unless we start seeing the roles everybody must play and everybody starts running in the same direction, we won't solve it when somebody's pulling in a completely different direction. Thank you.
All right, and as we move towards wrapping this conversation up, let's get our last caller, and that's Magda in Cape Town. Good morning, Magda.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing? Go ahead.
I'm fine. Sir, I just want to say, this is a small little cat that the development, that the government made. And now the small little cat is turning now into a tiger. You know why? They took all the responsibility from the parents. They give the children all their rights. And now they want the parents to come back again. You know what? It's a disgrace. I'm a community worker. I'm a nursing sister. They don't allow us in the schools to go and do family planning. Put us back into the schools and you will see what we can save this whole thing. Put us back into the schools. I can guarantee you, sir, put the community nurse. I'm a nurse for 50 years. Put us back, the NGOs back into the school to go and do family planning and do our work. Because the government gave the children, and even some of the parents, don't want us to get into the schools to go and do family planning. Let's allow us to go back in the schools and go and do our work.
Okay. So Magda there says, time for serious sexual and reproductive health, education starts now.
No education, there's no education. They take it for the government. This thing is on the government. They need to stand for it. This is their baby.
All right. Thank you so much for the call there, Magda, joining us from Cape Town, saying that it's time now for serious action and to take it back to grassroots where we have, people from the health sector as well coming into the schools to do their jobs. Let's take it to Gqeberha now. Nomabandla, you are the last caller. Good morning.
On the line, hello.
Molo, Mama Ninjani.
Siphilile, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Go ahead. What are your views?
I am so concerned, my child, about this problem. This problem of teenage pregnancy. Because I feel that the problem starts with the household.
Go ahead.
Somebody is also talking here.
Okay, so we are on air, so I'm going to give you the opportunity to quickly make your point, Mam Nomabandla, because we're chasing time.
Government is also a part of the problem. Households, we need to teach.
Okay. All right, we get the gist of your call there. Nomabandla joining us there from Gqeberha. Thank you so much for ringing us this morning. And let's bring it back to my panelists. We're wrapping it up now. Let's get your final thoughts now, Ms. Dikgale, on this topic.
Thank you very much. I was touched by a caller from Cape Town who is volunteering to say, let them, allow them to go back to schools. And continue, with their work. I think even if maybe the government cannot allow them, can they maybe group themselves and go speak to the teachers and volunteer to assist these kids? Because really we are in crisis and we cannot run away from this issue. I think I was touched by it, and I would also encourage our members of CONTRALESA to make sure that they do this. In our rural area, in our Royal Crawl, we have an education desk whereby these members of the Royal House will move around the schools and try to speak to the teachers and the learners. So I think if this idea can then put into practice and we copy it in the whole country, it will end up assisting us. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Manuel, let's hear from you as we wind it up.
Thank you for the opportunity. And secondly, let me say, insofar as family planning and nurses back in schools, I've got to agree with that. At the same time, let me caution, there's a huge lobby out there that doesn't believe that sex education belongs in schools. And this is what we have to balance. We're constantly fighting to do the right thing. And then there's another lobby that believes the right is very different. But I believe it's a basket of goods, whether it is bringing nurses back, whether it is more condoms, but the bottom line is education has to improve, discipline has to improve, parents must play their part. Government can't do all these things. The children are living in our homes. Let us look after our own children and stop looking towards somebody else to sort out our home problems. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I must thank you for that. We were joined there by the Executive Director of NAPTOSA, Basil Manuel, as well as Deputy Chairperson of CONTRALESA's Women's Wing, Mmakgoshi Dikgale. Thank you so much for your time and insights on the program.